This is Jerome from A.G.E, a gaming experience, and I'm here to share my top 6 Sega Genesis video games. Now, as somebody who owned both Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, I did favor the Sega Genesis earlier on because, for one, that was my first system of the two, and I just preferred Sonic over Mario. And also, with a lot of the games, they tend to run faster on the Sega Genesis, even if the coloring and some other things weren't better. But there were still better ports on the Super Nintendo as opposed to the Sega Genesis. But this isn't that video, so we'll talk about that a little later. However, because the system was quote-unquote blast processing, some of the games did run better, such as shoot 'em ups, running guns, and a few other things that required more faster actions, maybe not as much detailed work. Now, with all that long drawn-out introduction, here's my top 6 on the Sega Genesis. Sega! Number 1, Streets of Rage 2. In my honest opinion, the best beat-em-up series of all time, and the best beat-em-up of its time. Another game my father introduced to us, instead of buying it like other times I mentioned, he actually rented it from Blockbuster. And he was so excited. He put the game in, played it or whatever. He selected Skate specifically, and basically got behind a guy, hopped on his back, and then show you how you beat him down or whatever. And we all shared a great laugh from how ridiculous but funny it looked. But essentially that's what made us fall in love with the game, on top of the fact that it was a great game overall. You find yourself fighting against the crime syndicate, which is led by Mr. X. This time, Adam Hunter has been napped, as his friends from the previous game, Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding, recruit Max Thunder and Adam's younger brother Skate to bring down the syndicate and rescue Adam. This game expanded its megabits, which means better graphics, better quality music, and more animations. Along with expanded gameplay, this game was far ahead of anything else that came out in the system, and most of the things that came out of arcades at that time.
Young Bobby Engels has a problem. He needs to earn the respect of his peers. So he gets the special Sega Genesis fighting system. It comes with Streets of Rage 2. He saves $40. He gets more moves. He gets more control. Now things are pretty much okay.
I said chocolate chip. Say it. Say it.
Sega!
Number 2, Gunstar Heroes. I don't have a proper physical copy of it. However, it is in this collection, so I do own it. Probably the most fun, balls-to-the-wall actions you will experience on any game. Found out about this game when our middle brother rented it from Blockbuster. He generally got 2 plug-ins, and we always made sure that it was cooperative, unless we knew that it was a fighting game. However, as soon as we chose our character and stage, we were instantly blown away by the game's music and level design. Not to mention the amount of chaos that you got into. This game sees you as red and blue, trying to stop the Empire from acquiring 4 powerful gems. This run-gun gameplay was inspired by Contra, but more frantic. However, Contra will soon implement Treasure's design with Contra Hardcore on the same system. Number 3, Sonic 2. Now, generally there's a discussion between which is better, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles. If you was to compile both Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I would probably say that, but considering each is technically their own game and Sonic 3 and Knuckles came out in the same year, but one I think came out in spring, other came out in the fall of the same year. And I'm only considering one game, I'm choosing Sonic 2 over those, on top of the fact that I own the actual game cartridges of this as opposed to those two, which is on some collections that I've played. Now, this is the very first game I owned on the system when I got it Christmas of 1993. Because my father wasn't home at the time, I actually hooked up the games console to the TV just because I wanted to play that much. After seeing him hook up mini VCRs and our NES at the time, I had a feeling of how to do it correctly, which I did, and we was able to play it that Christmas. Mind you, at the time, I was 5 years old. You find Sonic, now teamed up with Tails, trying to stop Dr. Robotnik from stealing the Chaos Emeralds. Now armed with a spin dash, Sonic is even faster in this sequel, as he goes to the island to stop the evil Egghead.
Sega!
Number 4, Wonder Boy and Monster World. Another game my father introduced us. However, this will actually be the first of many games that we actually watched him play. The others being Tomb Raider and GoldenEye 007. While the game itself didn't look that interesting, however, I clearly remember the first time he used the ocarina to get to a dungeon. And then that's when I was hooked. To add to that, depending on what part of the level you're on, you may have a particular sidekick to help you throughout your adventure. Once the scribe of a peaceful land, Monster World's peace was disturbed when an army of invading monsters decided to attack the town of Alcedo. All while the princess of Purapuril went missing. You, a hero named Shion, being the hero who will step up and make Monster World serene once more. Number 5, NBA Jam. Now, I don't know my history with NBA Jam in total. I'm pretty sure we came across it at an arcade or something like that and just saw it. As far as the Sega Genesis version itself, it was a random summer. My dad bought like 7, 8 games in total. Some of them being Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, Spider-Man vs. X-Men, Samurai Showdown, and a few others that he had bought, I'm pretty sure, for cheap. I mean, we played a lot of them, multiple. Some of them we really enjoyed, some of them we kind of just put away. However, out of all those games, this was the one I played the most. And I struggled tooth and nail. Obviously, because of the rubber banding mechanics, you know, if you're up by a certain amount, then the computer just going to rev it up. And because the Bulls was my favorite team, there's also a built-in cheat that the Pistons have an advantage over the Bulls because the designers of the game were actually Pistons fans. And my young self didn't realize this. Obviously, this came out years later. But I did prevail eventually and beat the whole game. So you find yourself in an arcade-style 2-on-2 NBA game with licensed teams and real players. It has you playing 20 minutes of rambunctious, high-flying dunks, far three-pointers, no fouls called, high-flying, wham bam, thank you ma'am, NBA Jam, boom shakalaka. Is it the shoes? All these famous sayings come from this game. You can also get cheats to get certain players, or obviously certain codes. 2 of my favorites that I knew about growing up was George Clinton and Bill Clinton, the former president.
Jam. 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 Jam.
Last on the list, my number 6, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This was also in the collection of games that my father got that summer. However, this story isn't necessarily about him. It's actually about my mom. So generally, on weekends, sometimes my parents would join me and my brother in like a game night. We'll sit in front of the TV, play whatever games we probably rented, and enjoy one another. However, my mom was a huge player of Tetris. Obviously, that being a puzzle game, she was instantly hooked on this one. And this was probably the only system game that we had that she actively chose to play by herself. And then me and my brother would actively lose to her constantly. And we would obviously watch her try to compete. The highest she got up to was level 10, I want to say. It was the guy with the sun thing. And later on, by the time I got in college, I learned how to beat it. That time I was kind of cheating, but eventually when I got better at it and I was playing on the Sega Major Collection, I actually learned how to play fairly and win multiple times. It is my favorite puzzle game of all time just because of the animations and characters or whatever, but we'll get to that later. So a little history. So this game is actually reskinned of a game called Puyo Puyo. There's actually other westernized version of this called Kirby's Avalanche, but obviously having it on the Genesis, we got a Sonic property. This is actually the characters are actually based on the TV show cartoon. So this game uses characters from the Adventures of Sonic and Hedgehog, the animated series. This is one of the ones that are actually voiced by Jaleel White, who's also known as Steve Urkel. So this game does retain some of the characters from Puyo Puyo. One of them named Carbuncle. He's actually known as a Has-Been. You'll see him like in the middle reacting to whatever's going on in the action of the gameplay, whether that's be 2-player battles or even during the story mode of the game. So this game uses 4 color beans. The beans have to be lined up in 4s, so whether it be 2x2 or lined up vertically or horizontally by 4s to connect to it in order to make the beans disappear per se. However, to really get at this game, you want to have a combo of stacked beans where for a drop and then another stack of drop, another stack of drop, that will allow for a combo to have these boulders stack up on your opponent's side. And also you have reactions such as yippee or yeehaw, depending on what side, and it will go in the series. And once you stack up so many, then they'll just make the same high-pitched sound, because it starts real low and slow, then it gets faster and higher pitch. And yeah, so the more boulders you drop, the easier you have to win. But you will have to work for those combos, especially if the beans are dropping very fast. So, and you also have to combat the boulders that are falling on your side, just in case they do the same thing to you. So obviously this is my top 6 currently of Sega Genesis video games. Not saying that there are other games that I probably haven't played in a while, I probably kind of forgot about, that I might bump up or whatever, but currently this is my top 6. Obviously I've either owned these games, obviously 5 of them for a long time, and I've been playing Gunstar. Gunstar Hero was not going to be off this list, even if I haven't played it since I was, 10 years old, I guess. That's how much I enjoyed it. So this list may not, probably NBA Jam and the Beam Machine probably would move. Maybe Monsters World, Wonder Boy, but my top 3 is probably not going to change. So hopefully I can find some games. Maybe I will eventually get into Contra Hardcore. So something like that may be able to bump some of these other games off my list. But with that being said, this is my current list for now. This is Jerome on A.G.E, A Game Experience. If you like what you saw, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, follow. If you don't like it, please still drop a comment. Tell me what I can do better to help improve this channel. With all that being said, I'm out.